I am currently dating a girl and it's a long distance relationship. I know she's struggling with money right now and I want to help her out however I can. I told her that I'm her boyfriend. If she needs help, then I can. It's my duty. Okay, well, so far I think that there's nothing wrong with helping her, but I want you to know it's not a duty. So it's a value that you have about helping, and it may be specifically related to her or to women in general. Um, but I just want to be clear with you that you don't owe someone because they're your girlfriend. That's how I honestly feel in my relationship with her. There's also a part of me that feels like if I don't help her, then she won't love me anymore. Well, that makes a lot of sense, right? Like where basically, you're having triggering around some around money, but really it's about the relationship. And so what you're experiencing is within this ego state matrix, you're experiencing some exposure and some worry that she's going to leave you if you don't provide her money and or help, So that's why I think it's less about money and it's more just about the relationship itself.
Right.
And so the part of you that feels like if I don't help her, then she won't love me anymore, that you're going to put under exposed. And that's the thought that you're going to correct. But essentially, like, you would want to write a correction or at least journal to your child about this thing of if I don't help her, she won't love me anymore. So the thing is that on this type of call, without some understanding of how to do a correction, it's a little bit tricky. But I'm going to keep going and go into your questions, and then we'll kind of loop back up, okay? Because I want to make sure you have some way to kind of deal with it.
That's fine.
So basically, here's the other part. I grew up very enmeshed with my mom. My parents would always fight. I feel like my mom relied on me to make her happy, something I was supposed to do so as I was growing up. So I want you to know that in the correction process, that is what I call historical data for what you would use with your child. What's excellent is that you know what it is. Like even without kind of going into it, you're like, hey, I know what this is about. And it feels very right on as well. So not just with my head, but down here somewhere too. It feels right. So if mom has relied on me to make her happy, then basically it starts to feel a little bit like a transactional type relationship as a kid. So if I make my mom happy, then I know I get love. And so it doesn't mean she didn't love you at other times, but you internalize that as I have to help. And it seems like you've already made some of that connection based on what you wrote.
That sounds very true.
Yeah. And you kind of made that connection a little bit yourself. And so understand that you're just kind of triggered in this exposed way with your child around, really kind of, it's through your girlfriend, but it's really stuff about your mom. And I'm not trying to be a shrink and everything, but I am one, but I'm not trying to be one. I'm just like, oh, it's about your mother. But the thing is that it actually is. That relationship is a template for how you're going to do relationships with women that are romantic. And so that's where you learned it from. And that's what historical data is in a correction if you were to write one. And then, so I'm going to go to your questions now. So what I want to know is, how is the relationship with my mom if I don't have another girlfriend? Well, we just answered that question. And so basically, it's directly impacting it. And I don't think it's really about your girlfriend at all. And then you're like, is my need to help my girlfriend being triggered by a wound? And it is. It's the wound of enmeshment. So know within the matrix it's exposed, and you would need to correct it, essentially. So, the thing is it's a really formalized process. It has very specific steps. And so I'm going to go into kind of a general way, but understand that I really would like you at some point, if you're interested, to either buy the course or whatever, but learn kind of how to actually do the correction itself, because then I know you can move the block. Okay. But what you want to start with is kind of like, you want to write down on a piece of paper what he's telling you, what your child is telling you, which is, if I don't help her, then she won't love me anymore. So you're going to write that on a piece of paper. And then underneath it, you're going to identify the feelings that sentence makes. And so, you don't have any resources of like core emotions and things like that at this moment, but understand there's just like there's like 8 core emotions. So, this sentence is either making, because your feelings come from your thoughts, they're not magic. So it's either making anger or pain or fear or shame or guilt or love or passion or joy. And so it's either making one or some of those feelings. And I think it's pretty clear it's making fear, right?
Sorry?
It's making fear, correct?
Right.
Yeah. Does it make any other feelings? It seems like it hurts. And that would be pain. And then there's guilt as well. So guilt is whenever you act in a way that is outside of your values. And there's guilt in that if I don't help her, then she won't love me anymore. So you have guilt in there too. And so those are, and then there's shame as well, but only if you can touch that. You know, like in other words, I'm reflecting back to you the feelings that I literally sense in you, and also that is a part of how the model works. But you get to decide, Kevin, if those feelings are right or if they make sense to you.
Okay.
So you have those written down. So you got your thought, you got your feelings, and you also know where it is in the matrix. It's exposed and it's your child. So you're going to want to try to write something to your child that is going to help him, in other words, help you, but through him, to move from exposed to protected. Because in the adult column is protection and containment. So you're literally going to just journal to him about the thoughts he's having and the feelings he's having. And that basically you're going to help him, in other words, no matter what. So you're going to basically say something like, no matter what does, in other words, whether we give her money or not, no matter what she does, I'm going to love you even if she doesn't. And I want you to know that that is the crux of kind of what you're trying to do. Because right now it's like, it's mom vis-a-vis Cynthia. So it's like, if I don't do this for mom, she's not going to love me. And that's a little bit of what you experienced as a child. Not because she was a bad mom, but because this is just how things happened, you know, and through a lack of boundaries and some other stuff, this is just what you experienced, this enmeshment. So whatever happens with, I'm still going to love you. In other words, you're turning him to you. So right now, so when you were growing up, it was turned to mom. And then now that very same thing is turned to, and I want you to turn him back to you. Okay? So let me back up a little bit. So like you have your thought, you have the feelings, and then you also have this historical data, which is that you learned it from mom.
Right.
And so you want to include that in there. So I'm not going to go over all the steps, but there's only 3 steps, and there's a template for it and other things that you have to purchase, frankly, and it's a part of a whole program. But this can still help you if it's like, all right, I'm going to reflect back to him what's happening. And so you're going to be like, I know you think if I don't help her, that she won't love me anymore. And it makes you feel these feelings, the ones that we wrote. And then you're going to go back down. You're going to be like, you're going to meet that. You're going to be like, you learned this from mom because you would help her. Excuse me, where it is it, right? My parents would always fight. Okay, you learned this from mom because she relied on you to make her happy whenever dad failed. And now you're doing the same thing with, and then you're going to provide him some wisdom. And that wisdom you need to make a little list of. It includes what I said before. No matter what happens with, I'll still love you. And you also need a little comment on there about how what mom did might have been wrong. And so, Kevin, I'm going to ask you, do you think it was wrong? Or where are you with that? Kind of looking at your mom. And
I think that she didn't know any better.
I think that you are right, that she did not know any better. And so what you're going to say is, mom didn't know any better, and that caused a problem for you. So in other words, we know it's not malicious because very rarely is it malicious. But you still have to say something about it. Hey, it's not cool that this happened. Because this my process and my work and this process you're learning about, it's not about blaming your parents. It's just the realities that your parents can give everything that you need because they're humans. but the result is still that you didn't get something that you needed, or you learned something that isn't very helpful to you, that's caused problems for you. Can you accept that, or where are you with that?
It's a different perspective for me to see it that way,
Sure.
but it makes sense.
Okay, cool. Because I don't want you or anyone else to ever just blindly accept anything that I say. You need to make sure it fits for you. But I'm glad that it resonates. And so if you can put that in what you're writing to this child, then that can make a really big difference. And so then you're going to provide, this other wisdom, like, well, actually, probably it would be okay. Like, she may not leave us, but even if she does, or doesn't love you anymore, I still love you. And basically, I'll protect you from whatever happens with. So I want to be clear with you that that is not a formal correction. It is not the formalized process that I know gives results every time people use it, frankly, which is a bold statement, but it's the truth. But that kind of what I'll call a sloppy version of stuff will give you a little bit of movement.
I think that definitely shed a lot of light on parts that I didn't understand.
Good, I'm so glad, because that's, this kind of a call, just so, by the way, it's a public type call. So if that happened, that's great. That's what I want to have happen if people aren't familiar with the actual process and how everything works. So I'm glad it gave you some stuff to think about, and then you have something you can do. You can go ahead and start writing a little bit to him, and then just reflect on what you kind of learned through our discussion.
Okay.
All right. Does that kind of do what you wanted it to do for this call, for this purpose?
Yeah, for sure. By far.
Okay,
I
great.
think I'm going to be walking away with a lot of things to do.
Okay, good. I'm glad. And I do encourage you, and I'm not marketing to you. I don't really need your money. I encourage you to consider purchasing the course when it comes out, because then, and I apologize, it's just that the original version of it I've taken offline because it has to be redone. But that would really help you to have a process and a way to use stuff, and it's transformative. So it kind of prepares you to be able to do actual corrections, and then you have a way to do it. So anyway, I don't care if you buy it or not. I'm just telling you, it would probably be helpful to you if you want to learn this in a way that doesn't require the other amounts of money it takes. Because there's a lot of difference between buying a course and seeing me in a group or privately. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate the submission. You did great. So thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.